Breaking into Area 51 has long been described as harder than robbing a bank. The base sprawls across a region often compared in size to Connecticut, sealed behind layers of security, distance, and silence. Over the decades, this isolation has made it a perfect breeding ground for speculation. One of the most persistent modern claims centers on an alleged crash near Area 51 in 1987, a crash that official records say never happened. According to the story, a scientist named Dr. Michael Harrison was part of a team that examined what was recovered. The craft, he allegedly said, was not built by human hands, and its pilot was alive. For 6 months, Harrison supposedly studied both the machine and the being, learning something so terrifying about Earth that the government buried it forever. After 40 years of silence, the story claims he finally spoke out. Yet when you pull back from the drama and look at the historical record, a very different picture appears. Area 51 was never created to hide extraterrestrials. Its origins trace back to the early 1950s, when the Cold War was tightening its grip, and the United States needed a remote place to develop revolutionary spy aircraft. President Dwight Eisenhower wanted a site far from public view, somewhere quiet enough to test machines that would change aerial warfare. In April 1955, a CIA team flew over Nevada searching for that place. When they saw Groom Lake, a dry salt bed already marked by a primitive airstrip, they knew they had found it. The location was isolated, flat, and perfect for secrecy. Soon after, the Atomic Energy Commission took control of the land, Eisenhower signed the paperwork, and the area was quietly labeled Area 51. Those who worked there gave it a friendlier nickname. Lockheed engineer Kelly Johnson jokingly called it Paradise Ranch, a name that stuck despite the harsh desert conditions. The joke masked a serious mission. Area 51 became a magnet for engineers, pilots, and technicians willing to live under intense secrecy to build aircraft no one else in the world could imagine. What truly built Area 51's reputation was not aliens but airplanes. Declassified records repeat this again and again. The U-2 spy plane was developed and tested there in the 1950s, flying higher than any aircraft before it. The A-12 Oxcart followed, pushing speeds past Mach 3 and cruising above 80,000 feet. Later came the stealth revolution, with programs that eventually produced the F-117 Nighthawk. These projects were so advanced for their time that even trained pilots sometimes mistook them for UFOs when they saw strange shapes or glowing reflections in the sky. Secrecy was absolute. Anyone who worked at Groom Lake faced intense background checks, polygraph tests, and non-disclosure agreements that followed them for life. Breaking that silence could mean lawsuits, financial ruin, or criminal charges. For decades, the government did not even admit the base existed. The Air Force stayed silent until the late 1990s, and the CIA waited until 2013 to release an official history. Until then, Groom Lake lived in a strange state of denial, a place everyone whispered about but no one could confirm. Inside the fences, the base functioned like a hidden city. By the 1960s, it had hangars, radar domes, workshops, and rec halls filled with experimental machines. Captured Soviet MiG fighters were secretly flown and studied there, giving American pilots an edge without the enemy ever knowing. Even Congress struggled to get information. Courts routinely blocked lawsuits using the state secrets privilege, arguing that discussing the base openly would threaten national security. Against this backdrop, the year 1987 stands out. On paper, it looks uneventful. The only confirmed incident was the crash of an F-117A at the Tonopah test range on October 14, which killed the pilot and remained classified for years. Aside from that tragedy, official records show nothing extraordinary. No crashes at Groom Lake, no unexplained recoveries, no biological labs studying non-human beings. That silence is exactly what fuels modern stories. Some claim that 1987 was the year something extraordinary fell from the sky and was quietly hidden away. These tales speak of underground chambers, alien materials, and living entities studied under bright laboratory lights. But none of this appears in declassified files, congressional testimony, or official investigations. In fact, a 2024 Pentagon report stated clearly that investigators found no evidence of covert alien retrieval programs or special non-disclosure agreements tied to extraterrestrial technology. Still, secrecy itself invites suspicion. People know that silence does not always equal innocence. At Area 51, workers are isolated from the outside world, flown in on unmarked Janet Airlines planes from Las Vegas, stripped of phones and cameras, and reminded that their silence is permanent. Even retirement does not end the obligation. Lifelong NDAs hang over every conversation, reinforced by the threat of the Espionage Act. This culture of silence has real consequences. In the 1990s, former workers sued the Air Force over health issues, claiming exposure to toxic materials. The case never moved forward. Judges ruled that nearly everything about Groom Lake was too classified to discuss. Congress later passed a law exempting the base from certain environmental reporting requirements, reinforcing the idea that Area 51 existed beyond normal scrutiny. As official explanations stayed narrow, public imagination filled the gaps. In the mid-1980s, documents linked to the so-called Majestic 12 group began circulating, tying Area 51 to alien lore. In 1989, Bob Lazar claimed he worked at a site called Sector 4, reverse engineering alien craft. His story, though unsupported by official evidence, cemented Area 51 in popular culture as a hub of extraterrestrial secrets. From there, theories multiplied. Some said Roswell debris had been moved to Nevada. Others claimed the base housed time travel experiments, weather control weapons, or a secret hypersonic aircraft called Aurora. Over time, many of these myths unraveled. Lockheed's Ben Rich later explained that Aurora was merely a budget code name, not a hidden plane. Declassified files consistently pointed back to human-made aircraft and Cold War projects. Even so, strange lights in the sky continued to spark speculation. High-speed planes reflecting sunlight, military flares, and classified test flights all fed UFO reports. Radar anomalies and secret crashes, like the F-117 accident, added to the mystery because no one could talk about them at the time. In recent years, interest has surged again. Government hearings on unidentified aerial phenomena, new reporting offices, and protections for whistleblowers have reopened old questions. Viral events like the 2019 storm Area 51 joke showed how eager the public remains to believe something world-changing is hidden in the desert. Yet when journalists examine newly declassified documents, they find the same story repeated. Advanced aircraft, Cold War fears, engineers pushing physics to its limits, no alien engines, no non-human biology. Writers who hoped for flying saucers openly admitted disappointment. This leaves modern claims about a 1987 extraterrestrial encounter in a difficult position. The stories are dramatic, but unsupported. No names, no corroborating witnesses, no documents that can be verified. Unlike known whistleblowers who stepped forward publicly with traceable careers, these accounts live entirely in shadow. And so the mystery persists.